I don't know the exact thing, but it's a connection thing on my end that I do know for sure.
Got it. Yeah, this time I can hear you. Over there, I couldn't hear you at all.
Yeah, 1 second here. We are about to go on the air. There we are. We are on the air. We are officially on the air, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome for the new year. Happy 2024. And this is my first time doing actually a stream this year. I'm taking it a little easier on streams this year.
Yeah,
Yeah, want to do more travel. I would rather do more interviews in person. That's kind of the goal.
I hope you get to.
I got a few last year. I did about 20 interviews in person last year, so I'm hoping to
Oh,
actually.
nice.
Yeah, I did San Diego. I did some stuff at San Diego Comic Con. That's going to be on my Patreon. Haha, there's a plug. But but besides that, it's just been doing its thing and hold on a second here. I'm just going to make sure I've done this. There it goes. The only downside to Zoom and Twitch aren't as how do I put this? They're not as kosher together. They're just not. So what tends to happen is I have to do a couple more settings to make sure it all works. So StreamYard's way better for this, but unfortunately sometimes StreamYard doesn't goes, haha, I don't want to work. So
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
it's life. It's life. How you been, man?
I've been good. I got a new book out. I got the book out since I've seen you last. I got it right
Congrats.
here. It's the one with the Anvu cover. Anvu.
Nice.
You know if you can see
Yes.
it there.
Yeah. I actually just talked to her. I just talked to her today, actually. Ran into her a little bit for a brief minute. I have some really good things. Something we've wanted to work on together. It's gone in a unexpected but good direction. I'm not gonna say more than that right now, but yeah, it was my first win of the year. So
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
yeah.
We'd like to have her come back and work on the next book.
Well, so what you do is you rob a bank and you take a look at the part of the money and you give it to her because she's worth it. That's she I'm a big fan of her as a person, because but I also, knowing her like I do, I kind of understand what she's doing right now. She's trying to like, without going into too much of it, she's creating her own person of who she is. I do think she'll do comic stuff in the future, and I'm sure she's working on something in that realm. But
Yeah,
she's established herself. It's actually a secret goal. It's not so secret goal of mine. I'm actually looking at cons. I would love to do Hawaii in December.
that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
You
do
should
Hawaii
do
in
it.
December. Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
Go for it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, this is the year I just say fuck it. I'm doing it one way or the
Just
other. I
do
don't
it.
care
Yeah,
about.
just go out there.
Yeah, that's it.
My brother lived there, but he's in prison right now, so I would come visit. But
Wow. Is
well,
he in prison?
I could go out there while I'm visiting him in prison.
Yeah,
He's
I
in
mean,
prison out there, so
he's in prison out there. Well, that's a
yeah, he's in
story.
prison in Hawaii. That's where he lives.
Okay. Well, I wasn't even aware. I wasn't sure what. Yeah, it makes sense because Hawaii is kind of in the middle of nowhere. They'd have to have a prison out there. But
Yeah,
I
they must
mean,
have a prison out there. I'm guessing that's where he's at.
yeah. I mean, so you got an excuse to go. I mean, it's a
Yeah, I
sad
might as well
reason to
just go
go.
out there. I'm used to him being in prison.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
It's his second home. He's okay.
yeah.
He's fine.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, there's the prison system in the United States is a structure. We'll say that it's definitely a structure.
Yeah,
It is what it is. So I hope he's
you
good.
definitely don't want to be there, but
No, you don't. But if you are there, this is what you're doing, right?
yeah,
This is what you're
you don't really
doing.
get a choice if you're there. You're there. So
Yeah, and you gotta do what you gotta do. So it is
yeah,
what it is. What it is. And no, I wish him well. I actually
me
legit do.
too.
Yeah.
But may all come out there too. May all come out there for Hawaii Comic Con and stay in his not stay in his old house.
No, just say what's up. Say I do visit him for a day, and then go then do all the whole
Good
cool stuff you
hotel.
do. No, do all the cool stuff in Hawaii, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure they got a bungalow or a bed and breakfast out there. Something easy. I mean, it's not like the weather's rough most of the time. I mean, you got the tsunamis and stuff to worry about, but when it's not that season, you're just chilling. I mean, really,
That's true.
right? I mean, oh no, I have to bring. I mean, the absolute worst case scenario is okay. I gotta bring a tent and I gotta sleep somewhere out there. Go. Okay. It's not like it's not like the weather's gonna get me. I mean, I don't know what the police are like out there, but I imagine it can't be all bad.
I'll ask my
So
brother next time I see him how the police.
yeah, yeah. It's like, what's it like, man? So, any big goals this year?
Let's see. Well, I want to actually focus on riding this year. I've been focusing on wrestling the last few years. I injured my knee, so I don't think I'll be wrestling anytime soon unless I can get some stem cells injected into them or something. But I think I'm going to focus on writing. I want to get the rest of the books out. We got a backlog of books right now. I got 4 books of American Alchemist to come out, and then Cthulhu Crisis with Steve Crompton. Steve Crompton, of course, did Tunnels and Trolls and Grimtooth's Trap. So we got a 6-book miniseries coming out just through him.
So, you got comics for the next little while.
Yeah, comics forever. That's a whole year's worth of comics.
So why? So okay. So is the injury that serious where you can't wrestle, or just you don't really want to wrestle at this point?
Yeah, I really can't. Like, I can't really run. I can't really jump. So that really limits you in wrestling, especially in the indie circuit. And I used to do all this crazy stuff where I'd walk the ropes and do like little flips and stuff. So I can't really do any of that.
No, I mean, on the other hand, okay. I mean, I'm not saying this is the way to go. I'm just saying, just like that, some people have taken their injuries to reinvent themselves. Back in the day, I mean, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time was Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, I love Jake the Snake.
Right? He's not athletic. Nothing he did in that ring was
That's true.
athletic. He didn't run. He didn't really run. He didn't really do much. He just had a knockout shot. That was his whole thing. It's like, you know what? If I hit you with that, I win. If I mean but it was so simple, but everybody got it right, and that's why it worked, right? It's not that the move was cool, and the move was really cool looking, especially for its time. And that I mean, you could build. He built his whole ring career around his finishing move, and when he had it was the last piece of the puzzle. Once he got it, I mean, his personal issues what got him away from big time success. It wasn't his in ring. And if you look at his in ring, he didn't do anything super athletic. That's not saying he couldn't, but he didn't have to, right?
Yeah, he didn't really have to. He let his
Yeah,
character really work the crowd and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I'm
I mean,
managing. I'm managing people, but I think I'm going to focus on comic books for this year. My daughter started wrestling, so we're focused. The wrestling stuff's all focused on her right now.
oh, cool. So, are you her mouthpiece, and she's just looking menacing and intimidating, or is she actually developing her own character?
Well, she's a ninja, so she doesn't talk.
Ah, so she's gonna you can still do some stuff there.
I
That's
talk
a
for her.
you talk for her.
I talk for her. I'm the
You're
manager.
you're her mouthpiece. Okay, that could be
Yeah,
fun. That could be a really fun dynamic, right? That could be a really really fun dynamic, depending on
yeah, it's
how it's
going pretty
done.
well. It's pretty popular out here, so hopefully, and they always want her on shows. Just right now, she has school, so I
Oh,
told everyone, wait till summer and we'll hit all the shows.
yeah. So you'll be managing in the summer. You'll be writing in the
Definitely.
spring. So hey, so you got some stuff to look forward to. That's great. Um, so then in that case, I guess I'll ask this. So injuries kind of give me this thing. Do you want to just be more? It sounds to me that you're at the point where your career in wrestling is winding down. You're just looking for something to pursue that's as creative as wrestling. Is that the draw of writing with you?
Yeah, well, I always like to tell stories, and I feel like wrestling, comic books, movies, those are all forms of storytelling. They're all things I've
Sure.
worked in. So I like to tell stories, and comic books tell stories. So
Well, no, absolutely, no, absolutely. So what's your favorite kind of story to tell? What do you like to talk? Right, right. What interests you?
I don't know. I've never been asked that before, and I don't know if I've ever thought about it. I usually just write about life. Even if it's fictitious, it's about life. It's
Hmm.
about people experiencing life, whether it's in outer space or on Earth or in the wrestling ring. It's the human condition.
Okay, let's try it another way. Let's try this. Let's ask this question of another direction. When you write, what do you care about?
Well, I care about. Well, I think it's kind of the same answer. I care
No,
about
no, 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 no. But
human
you, what?
reaction.
No, let me give you an example of what I'm kind of fast looking for here. Okay, so this book I'm talking about, although I can't say where it's going, it's a novel. It's
Yes,
about a night witch that kills evil versions of the Knights of the Round. That's the plot.
I like
But
that.
this,
That's good. King
that's
Arthur.
fun. Right. Little King Arthur, a little other things as well. I actually based it off the Night Witches were a real World War II unit. They were Russia's most successful fighting unit in World War II. And they were
Oh, neat.
all women that would fly wooden planes at night and terrorize the Nazis. True, they had the lowest casualty rate of any like Russian like unit in the war. 4 years, they only lost 48 people, which is really good considering the casualties Russia had. But what makes so I used some real history. I'd have a little bit of an alternative Earth kind of vibe to it. But the first story, like for me, when I realized what I was really writing about, I ended up writing a love story, and the love story, what it's really about, and I realized I care about this because of me personally, is that fear of falling in love. Like, will I find someone to love me? That's a real human feeling. In all of this plot, that's what the story really is.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what you got to focus on, the human elements. I mean, that's always why, personally, I like Star Trek better than Star Wars because I felt Star Trek was more grounded in human elements versus, well, Star Wars is too in some ways, but
Star Wars is the classic hero's journey. That's
yeah,
what it
it's
is.
just that's what it is. Get the
Right, right.
hero.
It's a classic hero's journey with an emphasis on family, which is why here, like everybody like goes, everybody's seen it over and over and over again, and you have. But the reason why is because everybody has a family. Everybody understands family struggles, family issues, right? That's the hero's journey. But the Star Trek, it depends on the show.
Yeah,
Like
that too.
right. The
That's definitely
original.
true. There's a lot more Star Trek stuff in there. Well, there was. Now they might be even, but there's a lot more Star Trek stuff than there was Star
Oh,
Wars
there's
stuff
still
back in
way
the
more
day.
Star Trek than Star Wars.
There's
Star
still way
Wars.
more Star Trek.
Oh yeah. I haven't watched much of the new stuff, but they do have some stuff even coming out even now, like So
Yeah, they
it's
got the like three shows were running at the same time not too long ago.
that was last year. Like Picard's
Yeah, they had
finale was
Lower Decks, Picard,
yeah,
Discovery, and Brave New World. It's actually four
yeah,
shows.
yeah. So Picard's done. Lower Decks, I
Oh,
think, still good.
they had Prodigy too.
Yeah. So I mean,
But they
again,
pulled it.
yeah, but that's the thing, right? So depending on the show, Picard, I'm a mixed bag with. As in like I love the last season. I think the first
Yeah,
season's neat. The second season, I love the beginning. I love the end. I'm not crazy about the middle of it. I'm just
yeah, I'd agree
not.
with that. I'd agree with
Yeah.
that.
But I mean, Star Trek is a philosopher's show. That's how I would describe
Yeah,
Star Trek,
that's basically what I'm saying.
right? It's a philosopher's show. It is one of the like Next Generation. The reason it was an ethics show disguised as a science fiction show. It was a show about ethics. And looking at what's going on today, I kind of wish we still follow those ethics, but that I digress. Right, but the whole thing, right? When you look at Star Trek, focuses on the human condition in terms of the big questions. Star Wars focuses on the human condition in terms of the little crap, like the day to day. I've been here before. At its best, that's what Star Wars does, and at its
Yeah,
best, Star Trek does the big stuff. The difference between them, honestly, is, um, the difference between them, honestly, is I think Star Trek sometimes misses the landing on human connection. Sometimes it really hits. My favorite show with Star Trek was Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine was really good. It's definitely, yeah, it might be my favorite. It's hard for me between Next Gen and Deep Space Nine. They're always like
Yeah,
neck and
you're
neck for me.
not. You're not like and I've said this. I have a roommate, and we talked about this. You're not wrong with either choice. We both come to that
Yeah,
agree. Like he's a next gen guy. I would argue that okay, the next generation has the best main cast of any Star Trek, the best main one, right?
yeah,
I would argue Star Trek Deep Space Nine has the best cast when you include all the guest stars and all the other characters on top of it.
yeah. They had a
There,
bunch of secondary characters that were really cool and
most of their secondary characters and again, Next Generation's better on the top end, but if you look at the whole picture, no one can compete with Deep Space Nine. Like no one. Some of their secondary characters would be main characters in other shows. Some of them,
Yeah.
right? So that is to the credit of the show. Like that is a huge credit to that show. So, but I think DS9 did a really good job of some very human stories. Uh, I loved anything with Cisco was amazing. Kira is probably one of the most interesting characters they've ever made. Like period. Um, you know, and they have they have these complex characters with some gray areas here and there in all of them. And I thought they made a very all the care even Worf when Worf joined the show, they explored parts of Worf that they never did in Next Generation, which I thought was
Yeah.
really good. And so to me, it's the better show because there was a progression with all the characters. Next Generation wasn't designed to be that way,
Yeah, Next
but
Generation was still in the old-fashioned way where usually everyone had to be the same by the end of the episode.
yeah, there were
Almost like a
gradual
sitcom, you know?
yeah, well, there were gradual changes in Next Generation, but they
Yeah.
were a lot slower. And and that's fine. I mean, you still felt like it was a different show. Like season seven's Next Generation is way different than season one. So, and
And
that's
season one is usually considered not to be that great.
no, season one's terrible. But
Yeah.
but every like every show, like I give every Star Trek series, the first season is always the hardest one because you got to figure out who you are. And when you do, that's usually when we can tell if the show is good or not. I personally hate Voyager, right? Because
Yeah.
they never could figure it out. Lower Decks is fun for what it is. It's really fun. I am not a Discovery guy. New Front.
No one likes Discovery. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I watched all the way through, but no one really likes it. There's no low hardcore Discovery fans, as far as I know.
Well, there's some. There are some. I'm sure there's some. It's just not my
Must
Star.
be, but I never see anyone say like. I see people go,
Yeah.
I like it, but they're never like, I love it. You know?
Well, that's just it. Like I can't honestly say for sure that there's always a core fan base for somebody.
Yeah.
I like Enterprise. I think Enterprise, other than having the worst series finale of all time,
Yeah.
it did. It wasn't a bad show. I just think it just came out at the wrong time.
Had a great theme song.
Oh, fantastic theme song. But also, I think everything after the first season was really good. It was just it didn't last as long. But also the Star Trek franchise.
I think it was 7 seasons too. It was 4.
There's 4. That's half.
It's 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's half.
It's 4.
Right?
But that's
Yeah.
a season longer than original Trek.
True. And it does definitely follow the old Star Trek homage. So in some ways it's appropriate, but yeah, no, it wasn't as long a show, but it had its moments for sure. So you can look like every Star Trek kind of has to figure out who they are and who they're not, and each show had its own challenges. So the first season is almost always a pass because it's like okay, because you're trying to figure out okay because the original template was awesome. Like whether people like it was ahead of its time. Roddenberry's original template. Next Generation tried to copy it too much the first season.
Yeah, that's what the problem the first season was.
Yeah, right. The second season was some of the most groundbreaking science fiction shows. Period. Were seasons 2 through 5. Right? They gave everybody a chance to really cast their voice. They gave everybody a chance to really shine. There was some really cool stuff. Seasons 2 on, there's just some amazing character things for everybody. Except for maybe Troy. But Troy got hers in seasons 6 and 7. Like they actually did a lot more with her from like season 5 on. But I mean, they all had their moments to shine. They all had like these really iconic episodes. Data might be the biggest problem / best character ever, like legitimately. But that is the whole premise of the show, right? It was a fun thing, and the cast was amazing. And like, if someone told me Star Trek Next Generation was the best Star Trek show of all time, well, I don't think so. I can't really argue either. Like, it was groundbreaking. especially for its time.
Yeah.
And most of the episodes still hold up today, outside of season 1, most of the other ones still do.
I think
Um,
they actually even filmed visually. I think they even filmed some of them in actual film.
yeah.
So they're because I remember I was watching them. I think there's wider screen versions available of
Yes.
it. So it gives it a very modern look when you watch it. I was watching with my daughter and she was surprised at how modern it looked compared to other 90s shows or 80s
Oh yeah.
shows. Go back to the original first season.
Oh,
So good.
absolutely.
Visually, it looked well because they were trying to make it look like the Star Trek movies as
It,
opposed to the Star Trek show,
yeah,
the
but
original show.
Star Trek movies are definitely hit and miss. So I'll just say that
Yeah,
they're
but
all hit and miss.
visually, it had like a bigger budget, obviously a bigger budget than the original Trek, and I think it kind of holds over. I think with Voyager too, visually, Voyager looked really flat. It looked kind of like cheap in comparison.
I
You know, it
I,
probably cost more.
I didn't visually. I thought Voyager was okay. I don't think it was terrible. I just think
Just the way it was filmed. You know, like the actual
ah
like angles. It didn't really lose. Like if you look at some of the next gen episodes, some of them look like they could be movies.
yeah, some of them,
Yeah, but
but
you don't really have that in any Voyager episodes. There's not that many strong cinematic.
there's a you get to the end of the series they do, but the beginning no.
No, no.
But the thing about Voyager was I think Voyager took a step backwards. So Next Generation was a
Yeah,
little progression, but classic formula. Deep Space Nine, none of those characters when they start and when they end are the same. None of them, right? And to watch the growth of so many of these, like that was why the show was so good. They did such a good job, not just with the primary, but with the secondary characters too. I mean, the only character you can argue that didn't get enough was Esri, the replacement Dax. But she
yeah,
only was there for one season. They really didn't have the time with her that they probably would have liked, and they tried. To their credit, they gave her every chance they could, right? Because they knew that they wanted her to be memorable. And to her credit, Nicole LeBar did a really good job with that. But even so, every character starts and ends in a different place. So you have this amazing, like almost novel-esque arc, kind of like Babylon 5. And then and then you go back to Voyager. Voyager wanted to go back to like an old school
yeah.
Captain Kirk-esque. And you can do it, but you have to they miss some like I get frustrated a little bit when I think about Voyager because they missed some open goals, like literally open goals that would have made the show feel like a natural progression. And they never like I think the biggest one is okay, Harry Kim. He started as an ensign, right? He never once got promoted.
No, I
And
never
it
see
was like,
promotions.
yeah, well, no, that's not true. There was.
Did you get one?
But Balana, Chakota, like not some like they promoted other characters into other
Other
key
characters,
positions,
yeah.
but not him. The character that introduces you to the show never got any progression, and it was like, and any of the progression you really wanted to see on there, like Lana and Tom's wedding, for example, like a few other things like that. It was just like I will like those things that actually did kind of feel like a thing. They never did those. I thought Voyager took a step back, and I thought Enterprise was also kind of, in some ways, was a step back. It was neat, but it was a step backwards too because I think people wanted to go forward, not back. But I think after Deep Space Nine, I don't know if the people in charge of the franchise knew where they wanted to go with it.
No. And there was no really I mean they kind of did it. It didn't have as much story arcs, like arcing stories as DS9 or even Next Gen, I felt.
Well, that's just it. Like once you get to a certain point, like once you realize that we hit a point of there is no like it went backwards. So then Star Trek kind of went fallow for about a decade, and then J.J. Abrams, like whether you like those Star Trek movies or not, I can go back and forth on them. They're fun, but they're not Star Trek because they don't require me to use my brain at all.
Yeah. I don't mean in a mean way, but they felt more like Star Wars films.
Well, that's well,
They were
no, and honestly,
crazy battles.
and honestly, I think Star Trek needed that a little of that energy, because Lord knows, after that long of being a franchise, they needed it after everything they've kind of gone through. I thought it was refreshing a little bit, But yeah, I would have loved a little bit more of, can we actually, like, why did you blow up Vulcan? Like literally you did it because you could. You didn't do it because it had any real, there was no real reason for it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the thing about it, right? I mean, and I mean, Abrams, it did lead to Abrams getting the Star Wars. Like, again, you have to turn your brain off in parts of Star Wars, like the new Death Star going across the galaxy, annihilating planets from a distance, right? You kind of have to shut your brain off just a little bit
Yeah.
right. You have to, but again, if you can do that, you can enjoy a J.J. Abrams movie. If you can't, it hurts your head a lot, right? That's just the way he is.
Well, I enjoyed the
So
first Star Trek. I don't even remember the second one.
it was his take on the Wrath of Khan. It was okay.
Oh, I didn't like that one.
It was all right. It was.
It was all right. I didn't love it.
Yeah, no, it was like again, it was like it's all right, kind of, sort of, right?
And
But
three. There was only three, right? There's only
yeah,
three
and
of
then
them.
there was the Journey to Discovery, which was kind of a bridge to where Star Trek was going, which I for what it served its purpose. Would I call it a great movie?
I didn't
Meh,
like
right?
that one. That was the one with the albino alien girl on the radio and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't.
So,
I didn't like any of that stuff.
but no, but like again, but the first
I
one's
felt like
okay.
Simon Pegg was going through a midlife crisis, and he wrote that movie around everything he likes.
But you know
It's
what?
Simon Pegg, right? Is that who guy played
I,
Scotty?
I don't know if he was the one that wrote the script, but sure. Um,
I think he did. I think he co-wrote it.
uh, again, cool. I mean, if he did, I don't know. I don't honestly know. Usually with Hollywood, there's usually two or three people that
Yeah,
are
I know there's
doing
like
a
a bunch.
script.
There's like the
Usually, there's a
part where
bunch.
they're all listening. They're listening to the Beastie Boys
Yeah.
and stuff, and I know people liked it, but it's also like, well, the Beastie Boys have a song about Spock.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Oh, they're
So how does that
the
work in their universe?
why not? Because
Spock's named after the song.
yeah, or something to that. But no, I mean, you can have fun with it, right? I mean,
Yeah, that
the
wasn't one of
best,
my favorites.
the best. I mean, everybody will say Wrath of Khan, but Star Trek Four: The Voyage Home is also a really, really successful Star Trek movie, and it was fun because you put the Star Trek guys in the modern world,
That's the one I
right?
like. I went and
Oh,
saw
everybody,
that in theaters recently. They showed it at a special showing, and we went and saw it.
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
It's a
that's one of my. I actually think I might have seen that in theaters when it first came out back in like the '80s
yeah, no, it's okay.
when I was like a kid.
So for us for you kids out there, kind of wondering what we're talking about, yeah, Wrath of Khan is the big Star Trek movie. It's the best successful
Yeah,
of all of them, right? Next Generation really didn't have a good movie outside of maybe First Contact. First Contact is okay, but but uh, but outside of that one, the best two movies are Wrath of Khan. That one's really well done, and Voyage Home. Voyage Home is a lighthearted like issue, and they have to go back to the past and make some things happen, and that's a really cool idea. That's a really, really, really cool idea, and they had fun with it. And that's
yeah,
you don't need a serious story to tell a good one. You like writing wise. I don't know. Like, do you read novels? Mr. Topher, do you read any novels at all at this point?
yeah. I mean, I used to when I was younger. I used to read all the time. I was a prolific reader back in the day.
What'd you read?
I read everything I get my hands on. I would read, classics. I would read H.P. Lovecraft. I would read Robert Jordan. I was really into Robert Jordan. I got into him through Conan because he was doing Conan, and then I got into his Wheel of Time series.
Love his Wheel Time. I love his Wheel
Tolkien,
Time.
I read all the fantasy stuff. I was super into fantasy. Isaac Asimov.
Yep.
He's in the
Isaac
same
got
vein as Star Trek. So I was a
yeah.
nerd. I read everything. I was like,
Who's your favorite? Who was your favorite?
my
Jordan. You said
favorite.
Jordan. You said Jordan.
I think it was Jordan. I really was into his stuff. I even read his Conan novels, as cheesy as they were.
Yeah, no, I mean he's not bad. No, they were again. You're right in Conan. Conan's really one story. He
Yeah,
he comes into a place he probably shouldn't be in. Gets into some kind of trouble. He's either has to do something heroic to get out of situation. if he's with a gal, he ends up usually with her, and then she dies. Usually, not always, but usually.
Almost always though. It's
Yeah,
like
almost always. And then when it's
70%.
over, except for there's a couple exceptions to that, but except and then once he does all this stuff, he goes back to the place he probably shouldn't have gone to begin with, loses everything he got from the quest, then he has to go somewhere else and
Starts
start
over next time.
yeah, and it's every Conan story. It's
almost like westerns.
Oh, kind of, yeah.
It's
No,
almost like a cowboy, but it's in the Hyperborean age, they call it.
well, yeah, they could be a little nastier and meaner, and Conan isn't necessarily a. Is Conan a good person? That's a debate. But the thing about Conan is he does have a sense of honor.
Yeah.
And because he has a sense of honor, he always like he's and the fact that he's honorable and he's brave. He'll fight anything. That's the thing about him. That's the best / worst quality about him is he'll fight anything.
Yeah.
and you have to admire that kind of bravado, for lack of a better term. And so so that's the appeal. But once you read, there's some really good Conan stories, but once you read the best ones, right? Once you read the best ones, it's like, because there's only so much of that you can read in one sitting. But if you're
he had a formula, like you were saying, he had a formula, so it gets repetitive.
Well, but again, it's what people come to expect.
The original
right?
writer.
Right. It's what people come to expect. So when people come to expect these things from you, what happens is, okay, you're servicing the fans. So if you're someone like Robert Jordan or somebody like Jim Zub is doing the Conan for Titan Books right now, right, you're gonna give the people what they want. The only thing you really have to figure out is what's my own spin on it. Like that's really what it comes down to. I played with someone's like creative universe a year ago, and it was fun. But I was like, okay, I had to come up with a story that was really, really, really fun. Right. And I came up with something that I thought that was kind of neat and interesting and kind of fun. Maybe a little too big for the 8 pages I was given. Slightly too big, only slightly. Right. And probably should have been a 9-page story instead of an 8-page story, but I figured out a way to cut it down. We had a good time. I had a good time writing it, but I knew what they weren't my characters. So I had to play with them in a way that kind of made sense, right? And what's the story I could tell with these characters? Because I think they're both very interesting, and it's one of those things where I just kind of made so. But again, I had to ask stuff. I had to ask, can I do this? Can I do this? What can't I do? That's a big part of like a property like Conan. Is there's certain expectations that come with it. So when Jordan wrote it, it was like, I'm just gonna have fun. Fuck, this is just.
They were pretty good, I thought, when I was a kid. I really enjoyed them, and I got into Wheel of Time because of it. And Wheel of Time we used to have a lot of credence, but
it still does. People respect it. People look. The fact of the matter,
it kind of got passed up by the one that had the TV show on HBO.
No.
Game of Thrones. Everyone seems to Game of Thrones now.
No.
No?
I disagree. I disagree.
I never read Game of Thrones. I only watched the show.
Game of Thrones is the first 3 books are amazing. They're incredibly good. The 4th book's okay.
I read all the Wheel of Time books. I was really into them as a kid, so.
No,
I'm seeing Wheel of Time anyway.
What? No, but Wheel of Time. If you were probably to ask a fantasy person what's better, they would probably argue. They would argue the Wheel, because the Wheel of Time also not only was it Jordan's like magnum opus, it's the reason Brandon Sanderson's career is where it's at right now. Have you read Sanderson at all?
I'm not sure.
Have you ever Mistborn?
No, I haven't.
If you like Wheel of Time, I'm going to make this recommendation to you right now. There's a series called Mistborn. At least the first 3 books, read them.
I'll add them to my reading list.
What?
I said I'll add them to the reading list.
if you're a Robert Jordan fan, the first three books especially are a big homage to Jordan. They are a huge homage to
Yeah.
Jordan. It's why Sanderson was able to write the last three books because of what he did there. Because he's in a fan, like the world building Sanderson does. He's almost like he took what Jordan did and took it to another level. And he's
Yeah.
prolific and great writer. He's probably the best. He's one of the best. If you like that style of fantasy, he's probably one of the best that does that currently. Him, Sarah Maas does a really good job of that. I'm a big Fonda Lee fan myself, right? But I mean, there's good stuff like even today. I would say that Martin's Game of Thrones, what people still think, I think, in my honest opinion, his best writing was a book called Tough Voyaging way back in the 80s. It's
I
my
remember
favorite.
the only one I read of his was it Wild Cards?
They're an anthology series, but he doesn't write them, all of them.
Oh, okay.
He edits them. Like he like Wild Cards. I mean, you might have wrote them, like depending on when you read them, like the early ones. I think he wrote,
It probably
but
would have been
he's
the early one.
yeah he wrote the early ones. But I think the later ones, he edits them. He doesn't write them, right?
Yeah.
So, um, he's just like he's written 5 books of a 7-book series. He never finished Game of Thrones.
I know
It's
it's still
still
not finished, right?
he's done 5. 5 of the books have come out. So we got, and I don't know if we'll ever see 6 out. We might see 6. He's been working on it for so long. I would like to think, fingers crossed, he's close, but I'm not holding my
I
breath
hope
on
he
it.
is. I hope he is close.
Yeah,
And I
because
read a lot of Stephen King as a kid. I actually probably read mostly Stephen King when I was a kid because he was a big writer back then.
still is.
Yeah. And I
Still
read all
is.
uh The Gunslinger, The
Yep.
Dark Tower.
It's my
I
favorite
was super
series.
into that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, me too.
yeah, I finished it. I don't know, did you finish the series?
I finished it. I have first printings of all the books, all the way to the last one. I got the last one when it first
I'm a
came
little
out.
jealous. Do you know what the first printings of the first 3 books are worth?
Are they worth a lot of money? I hope they're in good condition still.
If they Yeah, the first book, first printing is like $1,000.
Oh, okay. Well, I got it. It's safe.
Yeah, so
I
I'm just
got them
saying.
when they came out. Yeah, I got all the way
No,
through the first
if
one.
you can find them, like I would
I got
like
all my cards in it.
I would love a hardcover set of that myself again.
Yeah,
Just because that's my favorite Stephen King stuff. That Dark Tower. I don't
I love
have
the Dark
Winter.
Tower.
Yeah, I loved it. It made me cry. It was really good. Probably my hmm. I still would put the Wheel of Time above it, but I got to give Stephen King credit. I mean, I haven't felt that way about any fantasy series, and that's a credit to King. That's an honest credit
Yeah,
to King. So, no, man. I mean, if you're writing, creating, I'm like I have found like I gave up. For me doing what I'm doing, I've given up television. Right?
yeah.
I'm actually kind of grateful that I've given up television. It seems like it's a mess today. So, um, so the more I stay away from it, the better. I do some video gaming still, but not a lot. And I mean, this is what I'm watching right now.
What are you watching right now? Fringe? Oh, Fringe was good. I remember watching that when it came out.
Yeah,
I haven't finished it though.
I have the entire series. So my goal is before the spring to finish it.
That was J.J. Abrams as well, right?
I think
He produced it,
so.
maybe. I don't
No,
know.
he was a producer on it. I don't know if he
Yeah.
was the guy running the show. That could be. I'm just looking at this. It looks like Alex Kurtzman was the guy
Oh yeah,
who really did
Kurtzman.
the work.
He did Superman for a while.
Yeah.
He got in
So
trouble. They booted him from it.
yeah. So, but
He's
Fringe
pretty good
was
though.
yeah. Warner Brothers is just a mess when it comes to live action for some reason. Struggling.
They're just a mess, man. They're a mess, Warner Brothers.
They do good animation. They do great
Yeah, they did
animation.
animation. I think structurally they're a mess. I don't know what's going on with them right now.
All right, no one does.
They just
No one
sold the
does.
Discovery. They sold the Discovery about a year ago, and then now they might sell to Paramount.
Yep.
So
Yep. That's the way it goes, right? Like media companies are buying each other up, big and small. So
yeah,
there's going to be like 3 media companies, 3 internet stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, yay, oligopolies, right?
I,
So,
I don't think Discovery was the best person to buy it because I don't think they know what to do with it. I don't think they understand IPs and stuff like that because they're mainly a documentary company and educational. And so I think they got into a lot of a mess. They didn't really understand what they're
oh,
doing.
I don't know. Like
And
you,
they fired a lot of good people. So
that's part of what happens. That's happens when a merger happens, though. Like
yeah,
every merger that exists. I mean, this is the reality. Is it takes them about 2 years, but after about 2 years, they go through a whole period of, okay, what's the redundancies in there? And there's good people. Let's say there's a good
yeah,
person in your brand, and there's a good person over here. Well, they're probably going to keep their person because the person's been there, right?
yeah.
Unless that person on the other side's super special, right? I mean, super special.
See,
So,
Disney, they kept everybody when they bought Marvel. They kept almost everybody for at least a
but
couple
but
of
but
years.
but but Disney did it differently. What Disney
Yeah,
does is they buy the properties, they get someone to oversee it, and then they leave it alone,
yeah,
right? Which isn't a bad way to do business. Although I think with the way Marvel's kind of been going for the last little bit, I don't know if they're regretting that a little bit. Who knows? In terms of their numbers, but um, yeah, it's one of those things. I do think the superhero movie has cooled down big time in terms of being a guaranteed success. It's no longer
yeah.
that. They have, but I also think that the Marvel studio right now is missing tension in their storytelling. I don't feel like there was a big, like, you knew there was an impending threat of Thanos coming to kick everybody's ass. They don't really have that right now, and
No.
that's kind of the whole deal. And they again, so Disney's in a very strange place. So is well, Marvel's in a strange place. Disney's fine, but
Yeah,
Marvel's
Disney's got
just,
to be funny.
yeah, right. But Disney has always taken a hands off approach unless that property really stops making money. Like if you look at Star Wars in terms of the movies, after the Rise of the Skywalker came out, which I'll be honest was a hot mess, right? Right,
Yeah,
right, was a hot mess. Um, they took a step back from movies because they realized that, okay, we can't keep pushing this like we've been doing, right? The Mandalorian's been successful for them. They've done some other things that have been successful for them recently, but it hasn't been the same. It hasn't been the same deal, right? It was when they started, and they know this. They absolutely do know this, and so they kind of are taking a step back and they've recalibrated. Star Wars, they seem to be more focused on making Ashoka looks really good. Right, right. I'll watch it probably in 2028 at the rate I'm going, but that's neither here nor there. But it looks good, and the thing is, they have some cool concepts that they've been playing with and developing and having a good time with. So, but they've been focusing it as TV content or streaming content, not big movies. They're not. I hear Ray. They're gonna have a movie featuring Ray again in the not too distant future. I'll be curious. I probably will go see that just because I'm genuinely curious what they do with her going forward.
yeah,
But yeah, like I just think that I just think that Disney has a very hands-off approach. I think it's because they're so big. They're so big that I don't know if they could actually, if they did a merger with everything they had, that'd be a nightmare. Like that would just
yeah.
be a
Best to
giant,
delegate it.
yeah. So it's better to keep it delegated, right? So, but Warner Discovery are a much smaller entity than Disney.
Yeah,
So if you're a smaller entity, you're trying to be as efficient as possible with what you're doing. So when you do these mergers, they take time to really, 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 really set in. But once they're in, I mean, heck, look at WWE and UFC with the Endeavor merger,
yeah.
right?
Found recently.
Well, you're going to see changes in WWE for the next, probably for the next year. You're not going to know what WWE as a final product is going to look like probably until 2026, right? Post the entire post Vince McMahon era of the company, what it's going to look like, what it's going to endeavor, no pun intended, endeavor, entail, all that stuff. Like, you're not going to know because, again, they're a smaller company trying to make money in a way that involves efficiency, and they've laid off a shit ton of people, right?
Yeah, they got rid of a lot of people.
Because, again, there's
And some
redundancies.
people left. Some people left.
Sure, some people are leaving, but at the same time, like that's where we're at, right? Like that is where we're at. That's what happens. It's part of, I mean, I don't want to sound like a callous asshole, although probably some people do sound like a callous asshole, but it's the nature. Like, if you have three people doing the same job, right? When they used to be three different companies, that made sense. But right, but if it's three people doing the exact same job and you only need one person to do it, maybe two, someone's gonna go,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Right.
unfortunate. Yeah.
Well,
Well, we'll see what they do with it. We'll see if Paramount buys it.
it would be interesting. I don't
They
know
don't
if they're
like
gonna,
superheroes though.
what?
Paramount is Paramount's super against superhero stuff. They don't like any superhero stuff.
That's fine. That actually,
Not be seeing too many more, as many superhero movies from Warner Brothers.
well, that maybe if they buy it, or maybe they might just say, hey, you know what? Give us a plan, because Lord
Yeah,
knows they need one. Give us a fucking plan, right? I mean, that's why. What's the guy's name? Kevin Dunn, I think. No, not Dunn. No, I'm thinking something else. Who the heck's the guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy?
James Gunn.
Yeah, James Gunn. Okay, so James Gunn. That's why he's in Warner Brothers right now. He's trying to create some kind of live action, whatever. And it's, in one sense, it's too bad because I think I'm looking at guys like Henry Cavill, who played a great Superman. I think Gal Gadot, she's a great Wonder Woman. Like, she definitely looks
She's
the
good.
part, right? I don't know. I mean, she definitely looks the part.
That was
And
my favorite of the films. Was the Wonder Woman out of the Zack Snyder connected universe movies. The one I
oh no,
liked most was Wonder
no,
Woman.
the first Wonder Woman movie is
The
pretty
first one.
good. The first
Yeah, it
one's
was
pretty
pretty good.
good,
I was
right?
surprised it was that accurate to the comics, even though they took some liberties with it. It was still pretty accurate to the comics. So
It was fun. It was a fun
yeah,
one. My favorite besides her was Shazam.
I didn't see Shazam yet, but I will.
It's silly. It's silly good fun.
Yeah,
It's silly goofball fun. And the guy that is in there was also on the show Chuck.
yeah. I was gonna
So
say that was in Chuck.
yeah, so and Chuck I is a silly concept of a show. Shazam's a silly concept of a superhero, but that's why it worked. Part of the reason why it works so well. It's like, he's the right guy to play that. So they had some good stuff. It's just, I think DC films, rightly or wrongly, just got a really big stink, and Marvel did a good
Yeah.
job avoiding that. And but I think Marvel's just creating this massive giant story. Once they finish it, it's like, well, now what do we do? And sometimes they've been good. I've enjoyed, right? You got Miss Marvel. Sometimes though, you get the Eternals, and you just go, shrug. Yeah, just shrug.
Well, once I think this happened to a lot of people. Once they defeated Thanos, I was satisfied. I don't need to see no more Marvel movies. I check in on them, but it was like, oh, they beat Thanos. I'm good.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you have to pay off that story. I mean, shit.
Yeah,
But also, I mean, when you look at it like in hindsight, that's a lot of time to one story.
yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing feat they did that. Legit. I don't know I want to ever see that again from any movie cinema company
There's
ever
a lot of
again.
time and effort to put in as fans to put into the movies to watch them all.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the more amazing thing is how it had to work out. Okay, like how it legit had to work out. You had Robert Downey Jr. at the beginning to Endgame, from Iron Man to Endgame, and you had to keep all these actors in place in
Yeah,
this company while this was playing out. and and that's amazing. Like that is a feat unto itself because no one
Yeah,
died, no one died, no one got hurt, no one quit, no one like that in itself
they switched War
is
Machine.
yeah,
They did switch War Machine though.
okay. But I mean, that's considering how many pieces could have fallen apart,
Yeah,
that's an amazing accomplishment, right? And I take my hat off to that studio because I don't know
they did a great
too.
job.
Yeah, that is a feat you must respect. But at the same time, I don't ever want to see it again, ever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm satisfied with what they did. I don't need to watch another
I
20
don't mind.
episodes.
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 last year. That was one of the few movies I watched. It was worth watching it. I got to see that little
Yeah,
payoff. I actually think going back to like character driven and my character driven, like, a story about people we can relate to and connect to, and and build a nice little story with all of them is a cool idea. Is a really 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 cool idea. But the beautiful thing about that is that's 3 movies tops, and
yeah,
that's what I want. I don't want big arcs. I'm not going to sit my ass in the theater that much ever again, right? Unless I have kids someday and go, Daddy, I want to go see this movie. I'll be like, okay, I'll do it for you. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for you, right?
yeah,
Right. I'm not doing it for me because I don't want to be here, but I'll do it for you, okay? And that might sound very that might sound very very. How do I put this? But yeah, I mean, I just life's too short to be sitting all that time on the couch. It just really
yeah,
is.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I was going to ask you, did you see the Wheel of Time TV show?
It's on my list. I'm going to watch it. No, I have a Prime. I'm on Twitch, right? So, hey, all my Twitch overlords or my Amazon overlords. Anyone that watching this, listening to this, probably getting a bit of a chuckle. But that all said, right? With the whole process of like doing this is I have access to it. I want to finish The Boys at some point, but again, I don't watch too much television, so I have to put the time in. Right, I'd rather put the time in video games more often than not.
Yeah,
So what I gotta do, what I'm going to try to do a little bit more. One of my goals this year is to get off this a little bit more than I have. I've started doing it a little bit, just letting towards the end of last year. Get away from this, do more other things because I'd rather do more other things. Again, it's a weird balance because I need this stupid thing because of what I do,
yeah,
right?
I feel
But
you.
but but it's like, you know what? I'm going to limit my time. I'm going to limit my time on that. I'm going to try to focus on things that actually matter more. We'll see how I do, but that's kind of like a personal thing. I might craft some more television time doing it that way, but I'm not. Again, it's not. It's interesting to me. I will watch people on my feed talk about shows they like that are indies, and rarely talk about indies they like. I'm like, huh. I don't need to hear about this show everybody's watching. Tell me what you.
Yeah,
I just tell me what you really like right now, right? Like you like I know right now your daughter is your big project in terms of I'm gonna watch extracurricular entertainment. I get a kick out of watching my daughter perform.
yeah,
Yeah, right. But besides her, I mean, promoting other people is always a good thing, and it's something I've made a conscious effort to do. Part of the reason the show exists,
yeah.
but
We appreciate it.
yes, part of the reason, and part right. So I can't say it's the whole reason, but it's definitely part of it. So yeah, it's one of those things I look at honestly and go, I want to see more of that. I don't want to hear about a popular TV show so much unless you really love it. If you really love it, cool, but please love it. I don't want to hear it if you just don't if you're just like doing I'll watch the show. It's okay. Why'd you watch the show if it was just okay? Just fuck it. Really love it or like get off the pot. It's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I love to hear what you think of the Wheel of Time if you ever do watch it.
I plan on it. It's my favorite. It was my first fantasy series actually. It was
Yeah.
the Wheel of Time. So I expect it to be different. The first season I expected it to be very different. But again, much like anything else, this is what I've heard. The first season's meh, but the second season's really good.
Eh,
You're like,
I'll let you decide.
okay, the
I was
lack of
kind of the opposite. I think
yeah,
people think that about the second season because it had more action. They're like, oh, action. I need more than just action. So
no,
I thought both seasons were, I don't want to ruin it for you, but they were decent. I think they could have been better, but they were decent. Like they didn't poop all over Robert Jordan, but they didn't.
no. But again, it's especially a book like that. That's hard. Like there are definitely pages of the Wheel of Time you could just cut for the sake of
Yeah.
just cutting, because he would describe the falling of a leaf. He actually did that in one scene. It was just like, this is not that interesting to me. I'm glad you right. And I get it. He's like, Jordan was good. That was why it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll read through this anyway. God damn. Like, why did you put this here? Right. Um and you can get away with something like if they ever get to like book 10, I don't know how far into the Wheel of Time they're gonna go, but if they ever get to book 10, I'm gonna be very curious how they do it.
I
Which is
hope they do more. I hope they do more. I won't give you any spoilers, but I hope they do more. I thought it was decent. It only had 2 seasons. I usually think shows don't really get good until their third season.
well,
So
the thing is, they got 16 books of material, so I don't know how far they
no,
get.
no, they didn't get too. I won't tell you, but they didn't get super far. But
Did they
you
get to
know,
the Grey Hunt? Like that's the only thing I'm gonna ask.
I can't remember
The Horn, the quest for the
the whole.
Horn.
Oh, I don't
Like,
want to give it away.
no. It's not a giveaway. No. You telling me that is not a giveaway.
Spoiler warning for everyone watching. Yeah, they get to the horn.
Okay, so first two books, that's fine. That's
Yeah, it's
where I
supposed to be the
expect.
first. Each season is book basically.
If it's a season, yeah, they're gonna have to figure. Like, I'm gonna be very
Yeah,
curious when they get to like, they can do that for the first five, no problem. But I really hope they like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm hoping they make that just 2 seasons, because a lot of
yeah,
that, there are things you need, but it's not as much as like I wanted. Like the middle of the Wheel of Time is hard. It really is. The middle of it can be quite hard in some spots. The end is amazing. It's like what he built, like the payoffs, all that stuff was incredibly well thought out. Like I gotta give him credit where credit is due. But
yeah. Well, you might like
yeah,
the show. You might enjoy it. You might
yeah,
enjoy it. I thought it was decent. I didn't hate it. I watched it all the way through, so I didn't love it, but I liked it enough to watch it all the way through.
yeah. No,
You know.
I like I said, like even if it was terrible, I'd watch it all the way through. I'm a real time guy. I mean, I am.
Yeah, I guess I
Um,
probably would too, but I thought it was okay. It wasn't horrible. I thought it was well casted and it was well
it's like,
directed and it had a budget. So and they
well,
tried to be as faithful as they could with the time and budget that they had. So
that's just it, right?
it's
Television
a
just
hard thing to adapt. Like it's like 16 books. Each of the books are hella thick. It's really a hard thing to adapt to TV.
and you also like you gotta work with we gotta work with what you have with television too. Television's a
Yeah.
different medium than a book. I don't like I know, are they true to the story? That's the only thing I care about. If they're true to the story, I'll give them a lot more leeway, because I
Yeah.
understand
That's
that
how I
there's
would.
there's just some things you can't do.
For the
You can
most
do in
part, they
books that you
were.
can't do in that you can't do in television. There's just some things. Other things, yeah, it's one of those deals where you look at it and go, hmm. Like that's pretty much it. It's like because it's when they butcher the concept of the story completely that it sucks. Like it absolutely
Yeah.
sucks. Did you ever
They
watch this?
tried their best to stick with what is in the book, but you'll see it.
No, again, they can't. if Moraine's the main character in the first season, which is what I expect them that they would do, because
Yeah.
that makes the most sense, you can't do it quite like you did with the books. There's no way, because
Yeah.
Moraine's a different, like, you see part of Moraine's appeal in the first season was her mystery. She was a good guy, but she was like the wizard. The part of her power was her mystery, and even throughout her entire arc in the first five books of the series, right, in the first five books, that
Yeah.
was part of her character. But you're seeing it from Rand's point of view, Perrin's point of view, Matt's point of view, Egwene's point of view, Nini's point of view. You don't see Moraine's, which that's the thing, right? Like, you have to so if you're going to do it from Moraine's point of view, which makes the most sense, at least for season one. I don't know about season two, but for season one, that would make the most sense as a television show. You'd have to make some significant changes. You'd have to.
Yeah.
And if I'm right about that, if I'm right, then that's probably what they did. I can see why they did it that way. And it's like, okay, right? And then eventually you shift over to Rand, Matt, and Perrin as their characters get more developed.
Yeah.
That's what I expect. I could be wrong. That's what I expect. Right?
I'll let you watch it. So I don't want to
Yeah,
color
that's
your
okay. That's
perspective
okay.
before you watch it.
Yeah, but folks, not even seeing it, that's my guess.
Yeah. Did you see you're not watching a lot of TV, but did you see the Lord of the Rings show they did? I wouldn't waste my time with it.
I got to be like, for me, I'm very picky and choosy. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the shows I would watch if I had a little bit more time regularly.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn for HBO. That's awesome.
That was good. That was good.
Spy X Family.
I haven't seen it. I hear it's good though.
It's hilarious. It's almost acts copishly bad on purpose in spots, but the caveat is just so outlandishly awesome. And anybody that's listened to every, like, I'm reading the manga. Like, I actually, like, when the new one comes out, I buy it, like, on site. I don't care. It is that good. So I'll watch that show. The Boys. I enjoy The Boys. I think The Boys is really solid. There's a slot for the Wheel of Time, and I may try to get my hands on Castlevania.
Oh yeah, I started watching Castlevania. It's decent. I liked it. I didn't finish it though. I keep forgetting that it's on.
Yeah, no, it's the only other one. So that's my list.
They had like a long hiatus at one point, right?
Yeah, pandemic.
Yeah, and I forgot they were making it still. I thought it was over, and then they were like, "Oh, there's new Castlevania," so I haven't caught up.
Yeah, so to put this all in perspective, for you, right? That's it. Like, two incredibly silly shows. One somewhere in the middle, and then a couple, like, Castlevania is a serious show, and The Boys is a serious show, even though it's got a lot of dark comedy in there. Right? It's a
lot of dark comedy.
Well, it has to. Like this is about. I mean, this is about some pretty heavy shit, and the show's better than the comic.
I know we talked about it before. I definitely think that too. I liked the comic, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. But the show, I love the show.
The show took what the comic built and made it really, really good. So that's it. That's what I'm watching in the present day. Notice a lot of things that are not on that list, and
those are all good things to watch, though.
Well, there's a lot of good. Well, the thing is, I'm not saying that there isn't a lot of good things out there, but I Rolodex. Like, for example, if I have a friend that has a movie come out, I go watch my friend's movie.
Yeah.
Right. I will do that because it's my friend, and even if I'm not a fan of the genre, I will give it a shot. That's how I look at it, and that's the extra time I clock in. If I start watching every single show on television, I won't have time for anything else. And as is, I probably play too many video games.
Yeah.
So
I don't play too many video games.
Yeah. Are you playing anything right now?
I only play old games. I'm old school. I play all the old games.
What's your favorite?
And when I say old, I mean like on the NES.
Yeah, yeah. What's your favorite, man?
I was always really into Pac-Man and Tetris, but the game I play the most is any Street Fighter game, any Street Fighter, any Mortal Kombat, even the new ones. I'll play those.
I got to play the new one for the first time when at San Diego Comic Con last year. I'm not good anymore. Once upon a time. No, I'm not. It's a different system. I have
You know
again.
what? They changed the combos.
Well, no,
They
no, no,
changed the combos on Street Fighter.
no. Not only that, well, they changed the feeling. Like some of the old
Yeah,
stuff, like some of the old mechanics are still in the game. Some of the old mechanics are still in, but I would have to put in some real time to get good at it again. And I'm not sure I want to. Like
yeah,
like I've had my. There was a time no one could beat me in a fighting game. No one, right? There was.
yeah,
Now, everybody can beat me, and you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I would rather, at this point in my life, if I'm doing something for fun, I play Commander in Magic the Gathering. I'm
yeah.
good with that. I'm happy playing Commander. I'll get hours of fun that way. I keep my brain sharp when I play that game. So yeah, like I'll play that. I won't play. Yeah, I just like at this point at this point in my life, I have to really like you to hang out with you. I'm into this like I'm willing, I'm open to anything, but if I'm putting time into you, I want to spend time with you. And if I'm putting time into something, I believe in you. That's kind of where I'm at with people. And if I find that isn't reciprocated, I walk away. That's just it. There's a really simple boundary there. I don't have the time to waste anymore. And I think that's what happens when you get to middle age is you just realize like, you know what? I got maybe another 20 years of being productive. Now, if I take care of myself, maybe 30, right? If I take
Yeah.
care of myself 20, 30 years, I got 20, 30 years of like being in the doing cool shit. After that, I'm going to be fishing and drunk, probably on a pier somewhere. And because I won't be able to do as much. Or maybe I'll be one of those guys in his 80s and 90s going, you know what? I'm just going to do it all. I might need big long naps afterwards. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit, right? So,
I'm gonna do stuff as long as I can.
well, yeah, that's it, right? But that's it. But I'm not wasting time. Like the one thing I
Yeah.
refuse to do at this point in my life is waste time. So I knew I need times to take a break. Like it's true, but reading books is paramount for what I do. So that's my number one hobby, quote unquote hobby. It's as much work as anything else. Number two, then if I'm not reading, I enjoy the storytelling of video games better than I enjoy the storytelling of television. So that's my second choice. And then television or video or whatever is my third choice. And that's it. Like
Yeah.
it's that like I just and the more and the lower on the priority list you are, the less time I have for you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. It's just that's just it. Like I'll carve it if I know I need to, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to do it. I mean, the only other thing I will watch regularly is at this point AEW wrestling. That's it.
Okay.
Right. I enjoy the it feels more like an old school wrestling form. I don't mind WWE at this point, but I'm much more an AEW fan at this point in time.
I haven't watched
So,
either in months. I mean, I watched CM Punk come back to both, within a 4 month span.
well, yeah, Punk's in it.
So I
Punk's in.
watched that, but
I would watch WWE if they pulled the trigger on CM Punk versus Cody.
which I hope that's what they're planning, but I haven't been watching. I only watched him come back, give his little speech. That's about it.
No, it's going to be Rollins first. I think Rollins is the right
Yeah.
first guy for him. Whatever you might think of, Seth Rollins is probably one of the best performers in the world. All time, like right now, I give it to him. Right, he's at his apex. He knows how to manipulate a crowd. I actually enjoy his stuff a lot more than I enjoy anything Roman's doing right
Yeah.
now. or right. I enjoy Randy Orton, but I'm enjoying Randy Orton in the sense that he is the veteran legend of the roster. He's oddly
Yeah.
the Undertaker of the
I was gonna
WWE
say
right now.
he's taking the place of the Undertaker.
Yeah, he's the Undertaker role in the company now, and that's, I think that's
Yeah,
really
he's
cool.
the old
That's
vet.
that's a good place for him. But and Cody's does great, and Cody's good. But the thing is, the reality of the situation is, um, Cody and Punk is, I think, real money, because the way I look at it is what CM Punk talked about being, Cody did. And when he
Yeah.
went back to WWE, it was because he had done everything he set out to do, and WWE was more than happy to take him back. The impression I get with Punk is they're taking him back, but it's not
Yeah.
as it's not as I feel like Punk came back to WWE with his tail between his legs. I feel Cody came back to WWE kind of like the conquering hero. So I
Yeah.
think all right, because I think Cody it wasn't a matter of him. It wasn't a matter of him. He I don't think he wanted to leave AEW exactly, but I think he realized like everything that AEW needed him to be, he didn't need him anymore.
Yeah.
So
He kind of left under his own terms.
yeah, that's the thing.
Whereas where
He left
Punk
on
was kind of forced out.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing, right? That's the big difference between the two. So I think the real money for CM Punk, honestly, is CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes and CM Punk being jealous that Cody was everything Punk wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting story. I think that is the best story you can tell with CM Punk and WWE.
I think they should do that. I think they should. I think one of the problems he had at AEW was they made him a face, too much of a face. He should have been a heel. I mean, Punk was always more over as a heel, anyways. Or
You
heel
weren't gonna
light, you know?
you weren't gonna boost CM Punk his first year back. I think it was actually right
Right.
to keep him
Yeah,
babyface,
yeah,
and
yeah. They got to do a long-term storyline, eventually have him turn heel.
well, I think, see, here's what I think. If he hadn't gotten hurt, they would have turned him heel as champion.
Oh,
I
in
think that
AEW?
yeah, I think that's what
Yeah, I
the
think
initial
so
plan.
too. Yeah.
I think that was the initial plan.
Yeah.
I think the big problem.
He just got they cut him too early.
No,
Just like
he imploded, like mentally he imploded. Like you, as a professional, just strictly speaking, as a professional, you don't do what he did. Like you just don't. Like if you're serious about being a professional. I like the reason why he's leaving his tail tucked to, they had to fire him. They had no choice. And I
Yeah.
can't blame them for that. So I look at him as they have to fire him. And there was no ifs,
Yeah.
ands, or buts about it. So but I think I heel Punk run was coming. Yes, I do. I think that was the initial plan when he won the title. I mean, I think he was going to drop it to Max. I think Max was going to get his year-long reign, but I also think that in the process he would have become the bad guy. I think
Yeah.
that's what I think would have happened. That's not what did happen. I think that was the plan. Like his first year there was really good. It was just but he had to be the babyface the first year. He had to be.
Yeah. They just never got around to doing that story.
They didn't have a chance. Like to be fair to AEW, I think they wanted to tell that story. Unfortunately, real life he did tell that
Yeah.
story in real
Well,
life.
now we're on the subject of CM Punk. I have a personal connection to the whole story because, as you know, I think we've talked about this before. I know Jack Perry.
Yeah.
We got
Oh,
trained together.
okay. So the okay.
I trained with Jack for a number of years at PWR.
Yeah.
So he might not remember, but I think he does.
Oh, sure. He'd remember you if you were there for years. He'd remember you, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not saying he necessarily cares. I don't know what your relationship with him was actually like, but he'd remember
Not
you.
good. but I don't
Yeah.
have anything against him.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's fair. It's fair. If you don't have it, you don't have it. Like that's just right. So the thing
I'll give my
is,
honest opinion on the whole situation. I think he was the troublemaker. I think he was
do
doing
it.
stupid shit that he picked up on the yarder shows down here. 'Cause he did all these yarder shows down here where they use real glass and they do stupid, dangerous, dumb stuff you shouldn't be doing on a live show with other people.
While I do agree with
And I'm
that,
going to say this too. The same people pushed, and I find it ironic because basically the same stupid shit they got me pushed out of wrestling, got CM Punk pushed out of wrestling. So
but but
same
but
people.
but well, he didn't get pushed out of wrestling. I just think
Well, yeah, he's
yeah,
in WWE now, so he's fine. But
but also, I would look at it like this. Okay, as far as so for folks, what we're talking about here is using real props and doing stunt work isn't always the smartest thing to do.
no,
No, it right. And if I were in management of that company, I would be making a lot harder stance on some of that stuff because while some guys seem to know what they're doing to an extent, i.e., Darby Allin, flip side is that it is dangerous and it does cost you money to rehab these guys. So
yeah. Well, the
right.
thing about real glass too is that it's very hard to see. So that say you have a match and you and your partner, you both agree you're going to use real glass. That's fine. It's your guys' lives. But the next guy might go out there and get stuck with a piece of glass.
No, it happens. It does.
Yeah. And they're like, I don't want to get stuck with a piece of glass. And I like Jack, but I think it was a dumb decision. I like Jack. I think he's a great kid.
oh,
We
oh,
put a
oh,
pizza
oh,
together years
oh,
ago.
but here's the thing. Like I think I don't think I do think Perry that if you want my full personal opinion, Perry did a very stupid thing. I'm not going to deny it, but I also think Punk wasn't in a place to tell him it was a stupid thing. There is something
Yeah,
that there
that's
is
probably
that
true.
right, and that's the thing. Like in this particular situation, right? If like I've heard stories about this about Punk is he'll try to be a leader in a situation where he not necessarily has the credibility to do so,
Yeah.
and right, so he
But
takes
that's kind of
charge.
what I'm saying, though, because it's like he and his partner, they have a match, they can use glass, but that glass is still going to be out there when you go out there and
Oh no,
wrestle. You
no.
don't have
Again,
glass
I'm
on the
not.
glass.
I'm not.
So,
I'm not. Again, I'm. That's not where I'm
oh,
faulting
okay.
you. What I'm saying is, okay. Again, this is. I'm not saying Jack Perry was right. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is, was Punk the guy? Is if Punk is the guy going up to him, hey, you shouldn't do that. Why is Punk the guy going up to him, hey, you shouldn't do that? Why isn't that someone in management? Why isn't that someone in the company that is his boss telling him you can't do this shit? That's what it
Yeah.
should have been.
Probably should have
And,
been.
no, it should have been 100%,
Yeah.
right? It shouldn't have been Punk. Now, did Punk have a point? Sure. But it also means this. You're not waiting for the guy when he gets into the dressing room to pick a fight with him afterwards either.
Yeah.
Right? You're not doing that. You're right. At that point, you be an adult. You go get management. You go,
Well, I
hey,
mean, that's why they
listen.
fired CM Punk, though. That is why they fired him. So
No. They fired him because he got into a fight with him in the
well,
back.
that's what I'm saying. They got into a fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So whose fault? That one isn't Perry's fault as much as
Yeah.
necessarily it was Punk's. Why is Punk waiting for him in the back? Right. That's the thing. Right. So when I look at it from that perspective, and also this is the same guy that started a fight with your executive vice presidents because he called them children in a public press conference right beside you. You're the
Yeah.
boss. So this guy is not exactly coming like he might have been right about Perry. I'm not
Yeah.
disputing that.
Well, I agree. They had a situation where they had to let Punk go.
Yeah,
They had to
yeah,
let him go, whether you
they had
like
to
Punk
let
or not.
yeah. And the thing is, and Perry's going to get the benefit of the doubt. And this is the thing: Perry's going to get the benefit of the doubt because Punk's already fucked up for very similar things. So now,
Yeah.
so now, what do you do with him? Right now, what do you do with him? You have to fire him because this is the second time he's. And the other thing you got to look at too, you're trying to build a company around certain guys that are going to be there in 5-6 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to build a company around those guys, are you going to worry about a guy is a big draw right now, isn't going to be there in 2 years?
Yeah, he's gonna be there in another 5, 10 years.
Yeah, so
Maybe five, maybe in 5 years, but not most likely
not
not in
10,
10.
probably not 10. So that's the thing. Like, you look at it, like, if you're looking at it
Not with
strictly,
his injury rate, because I know there's guys like the Undertaker who they're in their 60s or whatever, but not CM Punk. He's got too high of an injury rate,
so I mean,
unfortunately.
that's right. Right? Like, you gotta look at that wear and tear, bang. Like, so this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Perry was right either, but at the same time, I'm not sure Punk's the guy that should be calling him out, especially after what has already happened. So yeah,
No, I agree that they had to let him go, but that's business. That's not the wrestling part. Yeah,
no, no. Like, that's the thing, right? Like no, in terms of wrestler safety, like I completely agree with you.
yeah,
What Perry was doing was stupid, right? Like, was just completely stupid. Unless you're the last match on the show, not
yeah.
the pre-show.
The
If you're the
pre-show
last
or
match,
whatever.
right. If you're the last match on the show, okay, maybe, but not the first match,
No, and I
right?
think that's really what the problem was. I don't think people realize that. It's the
Yeah.
problem wasn't CM Punk being like, "Oh, you guys are gonna hurt yourselves." He's thinking, someone might go blind out there because there's a little tiny piece of glass gets in their eye or something they weren't even in that match.
Well, yeah. Well, like I
You
said,
know,
that's the whole thing, right? You gotta, again, you look at it. You gotta look at it really. You gotta look at it really, really clearly, right? There is
but it worked
you
out
can
for
hurt.
CM Punk anyway. So WWE.
Well, for now, we'll see if
Yeah,
Punk
we'll
lasts
see where it
there.
goes. We'll see how
Well,
long it goes.
I have an personal inside over under bet that it was in a year he's gone. I don't see him there long term. I just
I
don't.
think I think they're probably planning to bring him in for a year anyways. I think it's like
No,
a
no,
last hurrah, maybe 2 3 years,
no,
maybe.
no. He's a big draw when they're trying to negotiate TV rights.
I know
So
that, but like body wise, I don't know if he has that kind of lastability. I would assume Triple H or whoever's in charge now would kind of think, this guy's only gonna last 2 to 5 years more. That's not like an attack on Punk. I just don't think that he's pretty injury prone.
well, again, personal note. I hope he's a part timer. I think he's better as a part time wrestler at this
Yeah,
point
that
in his
might help.
career. That gives him more time. But yeah, no, but that's
Yeah.
the whole thing. Like professionally speaking, I don't respect the man quite as much as I did a year ago. A year ago, I had a lot more respect for him.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of looking at him and going, I wouldn't work with him. Just based on what I've
Yeah,
seen,
he
I
seems like a
wouldn't.
hard guy to work with.
Well, it's not even that. It's just I wouldn't. I don't think, like, okay, WWE is giving him a chance because it's the nature of their company too. They've given lots of guys second
Oh
chances.
yeah, they brought back Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, so
They brought back
they have that track record. But I also know this. But they again, even though right now things might sound really good, there's a honeymoon phase, blah 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 blah. They are going, they in the back of their heads, they're saying, if he implodes here, we're just going to cut him because they've dealt with this guy before. They kind of know kind of what to expect. So that's kind of how I see it. Do I think there's value in Punk long term, even as a coach or trainer? Maybe. Like, he's got a good mind for the business.
well,
But
I think that they want his IP. They want to have CM Punk dolls, CM Punk shirts, CM Punk
there,
whatever
but
toys.
I think the interesting thing about him going back to WWE is they didn't need him. Like, this is actually this is a really interesting thing. He's a nice to have, but considering how their business was, and this is the other thing too, they're doing record business right now.
Yeah.
Like, record business. So they don't, with the current roster of guys they got. The current roster of guys are again, Seth is at the top of his class. Cody, we didn't mention Jey Uso or Randy. Like, we mentioned Randy Orton, just Jey Uso. They got up and like Kevin Owens is still solid. Sami Zayn's an amazing talent. Like, they're top of the card.
Yeah, they're doing so good stuff over there.
Really good stuff. So they have an amazing top of the card. So it's not a perfect top of the card, but what they got's really good, and their women's division's amazing. So they haven't, outside of the fact that I think they need to figure out do something good with Rhea long term, because
Yeah.
she reminds me of Sensational Sherry when she was champion. She had no one to work with when she became
Yeah.
champ. But the thing, I know they're trying to save Becky and her until Mania, but we'll see. Like, they gotta give her something interesting in between, I think. But the whole thing is, the whole thing is with like, they're in a great spot. Punk was more beneficial to AEW when he came in than he was to WWE going
Yeah.
back.
That was a big boost for AEW,
Mm-hmm.
I feel they never really, because they want to reenact for the, I don't think it's ever going to happen again. The Monday Night Wars. I don't think it's ever going to be that type of hype as back in the 90s,
It doesn't. It doesn't need to be, though.
I know, but I think that's what
I,
they're trying to do. And I think
I,
CM Punk is the closest to like a
I,
really big name, right?
I don't see. Cody Rhodes said this a few years ago. The wrestling boom wasn't going to be a Monday Night Raw. It was going to be independent. You can go as a wrestler if you get high enough in your craft. You can make a living as an independent, right? Someone like Deanna Purrazzo, someone
Yeah.
like Lance Archer, someone like Sheeta, someone like Io Sky. If they just wanted to be independents, they'd make a killing just doing independence. Now, there are headaches that come with that, but they could make a killing with that, right? Then there's like, you have that strength. Although New Japan is kind of in a tough spot right now, you have a history of coming out of it. And if they do, right? And if they do, they will be a strong option for anyone that wants to go at any time. The British scenes, like the European scene's really good, really strong right now. You have good wrestling everywhere, and that's the difference between then versus now. Is, yeah, you're not drawing the same giant like television ratings anymore, but what you do have is you have a healthy, thriving industry independent of WWE and AEW and any of the big companies, which is an incredibly healthy pie. WWE will always be not like, unless they really fuck it up, they're always going to be the biggest wrestling company in the world. They always will be. But there is plenty of room for lots of other. This is where it is right now. Like, AEW will never be WWE, and nor do I think they should try. What they
Same.
should.
I don't think they should do that. I
Well,
think
no,
that's where they mess up a lot.
well, I don't think they try to be. I honestly don't think they try to be. I think the big thing with them is they have a tendency to, again, Tony's hyped about his shit product, and he needs to be. He should be. He's passionate about it. It's like you with your comics. You think they're the best. You probably think they're the best damn things ever, and you should. You worked your ass off on them, right? So, I mean, that is healthy, right? But you're not trying to go head to head with DC or Marvel. Why would you?
Yeah.
You can't even, like, honestly. First off, I mean, they in some ways, you want their money flow, but you don't necessarily want their headaches, right? And being an independent, you don't get some of those headaches. You get other headaches, but you don't got those ones. So I say it like that because I that's the thing. Like, we are in an age now where it doesn't matter whether it's wrestling, whether it's comics, whether it's books. You can make a living as an artist, right? You can make a living as an artist without actually, being in a big company.
Yeah.
And the big company, if you're an actual like creative or an independent, the big company's benefits is it can give you a level of prestige, and it can attract an audience to you that you otherwise didn't have on your own. So it can help you build your audience, right? So, and if you're thinking about it in those terms, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense to look at a bigger company, at least for a short term. But in the long term, honestly, if you're an independent out there listening to this, if you're looking at, the big companies aren't going to solve all your problems. What they're going to do is they're going to give you an opportunity to advertise your name with their audience. Take advantage of it while you're there, because inevitably you are, like, there's a shelf life to that. Now, how long? That could be 20 years, that could be 2 years, right? There's a shelf life, but the point is there's a shelf life. So while you're there, take advantage of being there and use it as a platform and a springboard to all the other things you want to do. Right? I mean, again, if I'm looking to get into a company, a bigger company, that's what I'm doing. Being very honest about it. Like, because I know in 10 years I may not be there, but I'll still be going, I'll still be doing stuff.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense. That's how I think about it.
Uh,
You know,
so, so honestly, so do you just want to write comics or do you want to do prose as well?
do what? Pros?
Prose.
Oh, I don't know. I actually got contacted. We're working on a TV show. I'm working on two different TV shows. So I'm writing. I got contacted to write a science fiction TV show. I don't know if I can talk too much about it, but
Then
ho-
that's all. Then say
hopefully,
no more. No,
hopefully
honestly,
that'll
just
be that'll get picked up. And then I was doing a thing. I think we talked about it before. I'm doing a thing with Andy Dick, and it just takes forever to get anything off the ground. But we got the pilot finished filming, and they did a mini premiere for it, and they're shopping it around, trying to find investors or whatever it is they're doing. So
it's a process.
we'll see.
But yeah,
It's a
so
lot of
whatever.
fun.
Whatever it is. But the thing is, while you're so is, do you want to? So is television where you want to go then? Like, would that be where you want to go?
If that's where it takes me, like I just like storytelling in general, so I'll write wherever it
Okay.
goes. If it's comic books, it's comic books. If it's wrestling, it's wrestling. If I have to go do pros, I'll do pros. If I have to go do
Well, you don't
TV, I'll do
necessarily have.
TV.
Well, I don't. What I've learned. Okay. This is the little I have learned about life. The more definitive I am with what I want, the more likely I get it.
Yeah. I just things just happen for me. People think it's crazy, but it does. It just happens
No, I
for
know.
me.
There's a little
Like I
bit.
just like, I'll go make a movie with Andy Dick, and I'm doing that for like 2 years. Or I'll just be like, oh, this guy wants to write a science fiction TV show I can't talk about. I'll go do that for a year.
Well, no, and honestly, that's not a bad career. People approach me too. I'm actually waiting to hear back on like it's been more and more the case. Just me being out there as long as I
Yeah.
have, but at the same time, I've learned this. Like, okay, like my personal goal is to be a full-time creative this year.
Yeah.
Came within an inch last year of making a full living wage as a creative, right? That's doing video, that's doing writing, like writing and video
Yeah.
and the podcast. Like that was my primary sources of income last year, right? So
Good.
yeah, that's really cool. I want to take it to the next level. So my side gig, I want it to be a creative side gig of some time, whether I'm doing television for somebody or whether I'm doing, whether or I'm producing a show for somebody or whether I'm writing dialogue. I've applied for a lot of that stuff in the last couple of weeks. And when I land somewhere, and I will inevitably land somewhere, when that eventually happens, right? Then and only then will I, when I get to that point, then I'll work on then I will work on staying in that lane. Now maybe I do something for companies. Maybe, but again,
Yeah.
my whole goal went in 2020 from 2020 on is like learning how to make a living as a creative. And if a contract hadn't fallen through the way it did, I'd have done it. I'd already be on the road.
It'll still
So,
happen, you just gotta believe and stick with
oh
it.
no. It's going to happen. But one of the things I realize is it doesn't. The big lesson I learned last year was it never looks like what you imagined it would, if that makes sense. It never, like that
Yeah.
big plan you in your head, never goes that way, ever. Right? But what inevitably happens, I find, is once you realize this, once you realize this, that's when, and you can enjoy the process, you don't get better. It's almost like you become tougher and hang in the trenches longer.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing right now. And I'm going to get to where I want to go because that's where I want to go. There's only two reasons I'd stay in the city. And one of them involves a lot of money, right? So that's where I'm at. I want to go. I want to meet guys like you in person. I want to meet
I
more
hope you
of the
can come
people.
down here.
Yeah, next time. Next time I'll let you know. But but that's the goal. The goal now is to create a situation where I'm free to go wherever I want, whenever I want.
Yeah.
And once that's done, I start doing it. And it might be small, like it might be part time at first, like me taking these trips, but inevitably it's going to be my full time thing. And as I keep doing this, I'll tell people about who I am and why I'm awesome and made of cheese. And then eventually, right, eventually get to where I were, because that's it. This whole game is about talking to people,
Yeah. Really
So,
is.
yeah. So,
This is my thing. If you ask enough people, someone's going to say yes eventually. So if you
oh,
anything you want to do, you just ask around.
yeah,
Eventually
absolutely.
someone will put you on there, and someone will let you wrestle, someone will let you write, someone will let you act. You just gotta ask, because eventually
Yeah.
someone's going to say yes to what you're doing,
Yes.
and you'll get
Absolutely.
good while you're doing it. So I try to tell people, you'll get good while you're doing it. When I got into wrestling, I didn't know how to wrestle. This is what happened to me. The night before, I'm not even kidding. I was like, I want to be a wrestler, and I got lost in San Jose. I almost never go to San Jose. I got lost in San Jose, and I saw a wrestling school had just opened up. Literally the night before, I was thinking, I want to be a wrestler. I've always want to be a wrestler my whole life. And I was walking down the street, and I was lost in where I was, and there was a sign for PWR Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Revolution, whatever they call themselves. And I joined that day.
Yeah.
I joined
But
that day because I said it was a sign. I'm going to go do it. I just did it, and you just ask until someone says yes, and
but
you learn as you go.
oh, absolutely. No, it honestly, one of the things I've realized is that no adult knows what they're doing. I realize this and it's glorious
Yes,
because
that's true.
right.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
No, I've learned this. Nobody does, and
Yeah,
there's a freedom in that because it's like, wow, I can be a complete and utter moron and I can get away with it. Awesome, right?
yeah, no,
So
that's true.
the universe itself is idiot proof, right? I just think it likes to makes us suffer because of what it has to put up with. That's what I
Because we're all
that's what
idiots.
yeah, it's because we're all idiots. No, it's true. I've embraced this. It's wonderful.
It is
So,
true.
right, it's like you're a moron. I am very okay with that. So are you. I'm just honest about it. That's the only difference. That's what I tell people.
Yeah,
That's right.
true.
So I
It's
say it like that because what I realize is but again, you actually proved a point. You proved my point though. The moment you said I wanted to be a wrestler specifically, you were very specific about
yeah.
it. The opportunity opened itself, right? The more specific you are about that desire, the more I think you get like
That's probably true.
yeah, that right, so that's what I've learned. Like if you're vague, you get vague results. Like
Yeah.
that right. I'm not saying can't work out, but you don't get a very specific result. But if I say I want to be traveling on the road this year, I don't care what it looks like, whether I'm walking in a car, truck, whatever. I'm gonna go meet some right. I'm gonna find something I can do, and preferably something that I'm producing. I'm producing on the road while I'm doing it, so I can go. If that means I'm spending my mornings at a Starbucks in a town in the middle of nowhere, I'm good with it. As long as I am free to do my thing, I do that. I go meet people. I do a whole bunch of stupid stuff, right? I do a whole bunch of stupid stuff, and I will have an adventure, and this will be my so-called life. And you know what? That's fine. I'm good with that, at least for right now. Inevitably, I know I got to make a decision of where I want to go or where I want to end up. I don't know what that fully looks like yet personally, but that's why I want to go on this journey. I want to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And that I want to figure it out. I want to go and meet and do a lot of crazy stupid stuff, and when and if I do meet some of the people that I've been very fortunate to meet, you included.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all
Everyone you
material, though. You got to think about that too. Everything you do is material too.
yeah. Well, sometimes, just sometimes.
Well, as a writer, when you're writing, it all goes into your brain and it all comes
Oh
back
no!
out.
I solemnly swear, my friend, that a lot of stupid shit I've done are in my novels. I solemnly swear, right? Right? There's not a lot of stupid shit. Oh no, there is. Where is it? How did no one does this? I did this. Like I did this, it's that's what I'm gonna do, and like I'm literally in the next in the next book I'm writing. So there, and I was 8 years old. I nearly killed a go-kart operator. Like I literally nearly,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's London, Ontario. It's East Park, and I first time driving a go-kart by myself, like no parent in there, just me doing it. So the first couple times around the loop, I crash just because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I eventually figured it
Yeah.
out. I figure again, they're designed for that, right? Eventually, I figure it out. I figure it out. Like I handle. I get control of it. To this day, I don't know why I thought like this, but I did think like this. So when we got to the end, so when I used to get off my bike, I wouldn't hit the brakes. I would jump off my bike and just grab the handle. You know where this is going, don't
Yes,
you?
I see. I see.
Yeah. So I stopped. Now again, it's not going full blast because the engine's off. I shut the engine off. And I just jumped out. So the car goes right. I've never seen a man die so fast in my life.
Poor guy.
I was not allowed to go to that go kart park anymore after that. I can't say I blame them. I'm just saying, like, I have done like that scene. What like is gold. So depending on how so it's like I can look at myself. Right, there's also a story I could talk about with a weed whacker, and anyone that knows my time up in Snowflake, Arizona, will attest to this. It's one of the funniest stories ever, and it's one of those things where I have accepted the fact that there are some things I'm just not good at, and me sneaking those stuff into my novels is kind of like a little challenge to myself because you can't take yourself too seriously, man. I
Yeah.
mean,
If you pull from life too, it makes things better, I think.
oh yeah, absolutely, it's real.
Yeah, real stuff to write from.
Yeah, like so that my Night Witch novel, I opened it up, I based it off a real bar. I took I exaggerated it tremendously, but I based the first chapter of bar from a real bar I went into in Vancouver, Canada. It was a hole in the wall bar you never would have expected because not you have no way. There's no advertisement, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it was there unless you knew it was there. So you go in, you open the door up, and there it is, right? And there it is, one of those underground bars. And I thought this would be a really cool way to open up a novel with. So I decided to take that same context and make it really run down, really like a mystery. Like no one goes there unless they really need whatever it is you need there. Because even the water's fucked up there. I decided to go
Yeah.
all in on that, right? So, but it felt real because there was a little bit of reality in there.
Yeah, yeah. It adds texture,
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
flavor.
yeah, absolutely. It's not, and every story has been told. It's what we bring to it.
Yeah.
That's the real thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's completely true.
Mr. Topher, I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
Wait, what's up? Oh, you're
Do,
good?
well, I'm just saying. I think we have a good interview here. I think
Yeah,
right,
this
like
was good.
yeah. So I think what we need to do is gotta get to the point of the show where we have to start plugging your stuff.
All
Because
right, cool.
yeah, we got to plug, right? We got to do the plugging
Yeah,
thing.
okay, let's plug my
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
got my
Before we get there, do you have any Kickstarters or stuff planned like anytime soon?
So we're going to be launching I got my books. We're going to be launching a Kickstarter for Cthulhu Crisis issue 2, which is a Demi the Demoness comic book, which is going to cross over with my character Erica America, and it's going to connect to the world of Monsters role-playing games. I don't know if you know about Monsters. And it's Steve Crompton is the
Yep.
co-creator of Tunnels and Trolls, Grimtooth Traps, and Monsters. So we're gonna whole comic book series. It's gonna be 6 issues long, and the Kickstarter is gonna cover a re-release of issue 1 and a new release of issue 2. And that's going to be through Steve Crompton.
When do you
It'll
know
be
when
our
that
next
kicks?
Kickstarter. It'll be end of February.
Okay, cool.
End
All
of
right.
February.
So if those, so by the time this show airs, they'll be ready to maybe just send me a pre-launch. Make sure when it's over, send me a pre-launch page when you guys have it. Outside of that, now let's talk about your books. What the book you showed me earlier?
And I don't know what I did with it now. It disappeared. Where'd it go?
Sorry, we are trained professionals, ladies and gentlemen.
So we got this book here, American Alchemist #1.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'm gonna prop this up here. Let me pull it out. This is a variant cover by L.C. Freitas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll show you some of the pages in it. And of course, I spent years working on this. D-Ra Verma worked on it, who was an artist on Lady Death. He also worked for Marvel Comics, Conan the Barbarian. He opens the book. He was actually going to do a lot more, but unfortunately, he passed away before he could finish the series. I have one other story by him that's not inked yet, and that's probably the last story he ever did. And yep, see his pages on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
It is 66 pages, anthology series, mostly covering sort of Mesoamerican heritage. So the first story is Erica America. She's a Mesoamerican. She's kind of vague about her ethnicity, but Native person. And so she's the main hero in the book. And then the next story is actually about lucha libre. So we cover lucha libre, the myth of Quetzalcoatl, this heroic Native American character we have, Erica America, who's the daughter of Americo Vespucci, the Italian explorer, and a Native American princess. Yeah, me on the back when I got stabbed playing Pokemon. So we get a little slice of life story in the back, but it's mostly about lucha libre and my ventures into Mexican wrestling here in California.
Nice.
And so that is 66 pages, American Alchemist #1. You can get it on the America and Friends page on Facebook.
Do you have a website address for that?
I'll have to send you the link because it's spelled funky.
Okay. So
I'll send you a link later.
So yes. All right, folks. On that note, this is my first podcast of the year, my first stream of the year. I will be back tomorrow. My guest is someone I met at the When Words Collide. I've been dying to interview since, Nicole DeBear. She's gonna be up tomorrow. It's gonna be a wild one. And guys, I have a Kickstarter service starting up, basically for people that want to actually reach and interact with their audience, maybe a bit better than what they tend to do. I help you make videos and stories and packages to help you reach out your audience, whether it's announcing a pledge, extra bonus content for your project, or even just doing interactive stuff with your fans between campaigns. I can help you with that. Definitely check that out on my website.
Let me say something about that real quick. You actually did the video for mine.
Yes, I did. I did a video.
And my Kickstarter was very successful. So thank you very much.
Yes.
So I can vouch for you on that.
Yes. So yes. I actually taken that a little one step further. I've noticed that a lot of people, when they do, like, again, I realize budget's a big part of this, but one of the things I realize is one thing creators definitely need to work on is interaction with their audience.
Yes, definitely.
And here. So I'm just gonna put the site up here. I'm doing this, folks. Just give me a second here. I'm a trained professional. I think that's it. Hold on, let's take a quick look here. As my Discord decided to pop in right at the last minute there. Come on, you. Silly thing. Trained professionals, folks. We really are. But yeah, especially if you're looking for consultations or stuff like that, you can definitely do that. But that's it, folks. For everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you all.
Oh, finally goes away.
Was